Hello, my dear students. Welcome back to this class. I hope you are doing well at your home. And I guess you are bored staying at home all the time, sitting in front of these computers or cell phones and learning through these all things. So it's high time that we had fun. So let's have fun in this class. I promise that you are going to laugh out loud if you understand the comedy in this lesson. So today's lesson is packing. You might get a doubt by this title. What is this? We are not going anywhere. We are not going to pack anything. How this packing is going to create fun in this class? If you think like that, you are wrong. Because this lesson is going to give us a lot of fun. It might be inappropriate right now if I ask you, would you like to go on a trip or would you like to enjoy packing, going on trips? Because of this unprecedented situation we are in, we cannot go anywhere and we cannot enjoy. I know that very well. So to take all that frustration out of your mind, here comes this lesson, packing, for all of you. So let's get started without any delay. I have a few questions before I start this lesson. Do you like going on trips? Yes, I like going on trips very much. And I guess most of you like going on trips. What kind of trips do you enjoy most? So, be it a religious trip or a pleasure trip or something that you enjoy. How do you feel about having to pack for a trip? So, before you go on a trip, definitely what do we have to do? We have to pack. We have to pack all the necessary things that we need. So, how do you feel about packing? Although we enjoy going on trips, how many of us really enjoy packing for a trip? Definitely, many of you wouldn't enjoy, and I guess many a time when you plan for a trip, definitely it was your mother or father who packed for you, right? Have you ever discovered on a trip that you have forgotten to pack a few things you very much need or that you can't find them easily? Yes, this situation might have happened in each and every one of your lives because many a time we go on a trip and we forget to pack the most essential thing, like we may forget to pack a toothbrush or a tongue cleaner or a cell phone charger. Many a time we forget most essential things that we need to pack. It happens many times. If something had happened like that in your life, please do share with me and send all your answers through mail. Does this make you angry or does it make you laugh at yourself? So, when you realize that you had forgotten to pack the most important thing that you need, what is your reaction? How do you feel at the time? Do you feel frustrated or do you laugh at yourself for forgetting such a necessary thing, or do you become angry? So what will be your reaction if you find yourself in such a situation? So that I want you to write down and send it to me. Having talked about all these things, let's move on further. Packing. I have got some interesting Disney GIF for you here from packing. So you can enjoy watching them. These all things commonly happen with us too. So we think that we packed the bags, and many people try to close the suitcase, strap the suitcase, and they end up falling over it, right? And in the last GAF, if you see, I pack my bag and I am out of here. With a lot of effort, it had packed, and then it simply burst out, and all the things are out. Okay, let's get started now. So let's know a thing or two about our author. His name is Jerome K. Jerome, and he's a British writer, and he's best known for his comic novels. Although he faced quite difficult circumstances and poverty in his early life, Jerome developed a passion for literature, politics, and theatre. His most successful work, Three Men in a Boat, was serialized in Home Times in 1889. And interestingly, our present lesson packing was taken from this novel, his most successful work, Three Men in a Boat. Our author had two other friends, Jerome and Harris. Jerome had two friends, George and Harris, and these three of them planned to go somewhere, planned to go on a trip on the river Thames. And before they go on that, they start to pack. So that's the base of our lesson. Although Three Men in a Boat was poorly received by critics, it was not very successful among the critics, but it was immensely popular among readers of all social classes. Readers of all social classes enjoyed reading this Three Men in a Boat, and he was very successful in that because it was such a nice comedy. You are going to experience that now. So let's get ourselves introduced. The characters. Let's introduce the characters. Jerome, he is the narrator of the story, and George and Harris are friends of the narrator, and obviously these three plan to go on a trip, and they start to pack. Montmorency is the pet dog of the three friends, and he's a well-loved pet, so knows no restraints. He has no boundaries at all, so he does a lot of mischief, and we will get to know what mischief this Montmorency is capable of doing. Okay, having known the characters, let's get started. So, first, Jerome says that I said I would pack. Jerome says he would pack, but he does not mean that he would pack. Jerome, Harris, and George are ready to go on a journey, as you already know, and they want to start packing. Our author, Jerome, was proud of himself because he thinks that he is the best packer in the world. Nobody else knows more than me about packing. That's what he thinks. He's really takes pride himself on packing. So he says, I would pack. But he does not mean that he would pack. What he means when he says I would pack, he expected that he would supervise when Harris and George pack. That's what he meant, because he wanted to teach Harris and George how to pack, as he thinks that he is the best packer in the world. So Jerome says I would pack, thinking that Harris and George would say we would pack. He wanted to supervise Harris and George packing, but unfortunately Harris and George did not take it that way, and they simply let Jerome pack since he said he would pack. So here, being the narrator, he describes how the packing experience went in this lesson, and we can see that Jerome is quite confident with his packing skills as he handles it all alone. So while in reality he wishes to simply supervise the packing session while making his friends do the work under him. So that's what he intended. When he says that he would pack, he did not actually want to pack. He wanted Harris and George to pack, and he wanted to teach them how to pack. He wanted to supervise what they are doing. But what happened, George and Harris, they simply were at rest, and they left the packing to Jerome. They listened to him and let him handle it all by himself while they sit and relax. What happens generally then, you can guess. When you are toiling, when you are working hard and your friends are simply sitting and relaxing, that's the most irritating thing that you ever encounter, right? So it irritates us more when we are working hard and our friends are lying idle over there. Just like that, Jerome also got frustrated. But what to do? He has to do the packing since he said he would pack. So he starts to packing. He starts to pack. Jerome says that he lived with a man once who used to make him mad that way. What would he do? He would sit on the sofa and watch Jerome doing all the things by hours and hours together. He said he felt really good looking at him because our author was messing about. So he feels really good looking at our author packing all the things. Now he is not like that. He can't sit still, and he can't sit another man slaving, I mean, working very hard. So he wanted to get up and superintend. He wanted to see how these two people would pack, right? And he walked around with his hands in his pockets. That's what he intended. He wanted to walk around with his hands in his pockets when George and Harris do the packing. But it did not go that way. The author wished it would happen that way, but it did not happen that way. So he did not say anything, and he started packing. It seemed that it was quite a longer job, and he had to finish it. So he packed everything in the suitcase, and he strapped it. He packed everything in the suitcase, and at last he strapped it. You know what happened? Right then, Harris asked him a question. Did you put the boots in? He asked. Have you packed the boots in? Then he looked around, and he found that he had forgotten to pack the boots in. So then, that is Harris. He could have told him before he had strapped the suitcase. But he waited until he had strapped the suitcase with a lot of difficulty. And then he says that, yeah, did you pack the boots? That's what Harris is. He could have said it before, but he did not say. George laughed. So he laughed, and it irritated Jerome very much. What does he have to do now? He had opened the bag again, and he packed the boots in. Right? Let me read what I have written here as the summary for you. Finally, after a long packing session, he packs the bag up while his friends watch him quietly do all the work. Soon, Harris tells him about the shoes that he did not pack, and Jerome will have to reopen the bag to make space for them. So thus, after learning about the shoes, Jerome remembers his toothbrush which he did not pack. In order to find it, he empties the whole just for one toothbrush. Alas, he finds it inside a boot and packs the bag again. But this toothbrush story is very interesting. I want to elaborate on this toothbrush story. So be all ears over here. He suddenly remembers that whether he had packed his toothbrush. He does not know whether he packed it or not. So he had to open it again and look for this toothbrush. So this toothbrush of him, every time it gives him a lot of trouble. This haunts him every time he goes on for a traveling. It makes his life very unhappy. Because every time what happens is, whenever Jerome plans to go on a trip, this toothbrush gives him a lot of unhappiness. What happens? He dreams that he hadn't packed it. And then he wakes up. In a sweat, he wakes up suddenly, and he gets out of his bed, and he searches for toothbrush. And what does he do? In the morning, he packs it. He packs the toothbrush before he used it. So what happens generally? He has to unpack it again so that he has to use it in the morning. And then what does he do? He unpacks the suitcase and he uses the brush, and then he forgets to pack it again this time. At the last moment, he remembers about this toothbrush just before he leaves for an airport. Then what does he do? He runs to the upstairs, and then he takes the toothbrush and he wraps it in his tissue paper or handkerchief, and then he keeps it in the pocket. That is how finally he packs the toothbrush. Every time he is very much confused whether he had packed his toothbrush or not. Such a situation happens with many people. Many a time we also forget packing the toothbrush, but that is the only thing that we need early in the morning. So if we pack our toothbrush before we use it, then again we have to unpack and we have to use it. If we use it again, we forget to pack it. So if we forget to pack it at the last moment, if we remember about that, what do? We simply wrap it in a kerchief and then we keep it in the pocket. That's what Jerome does here. So I don't know how many of you have experienced a similar situation. If you have experienced such a situation, please do write about your experience. Share your experience with me. Feel free to share. So let's move on now. After that, we see that one more query arises for the soap by George. This time George asks him a question. After this toothbrush scenario, George asks him whether he had packed the soap. Before that, what actually happens was he was looking for his toothbrush. He wanted to know whether he had packed the toothbrush or not in the bag, and he searched for the toothbrush and he found George and Harry's toothbrush 18 times. He completely put everything out of the suitcase and searched for the toothbrush. He could not find it, but he could find George and Harry's toothbrush for 18 times. And then what happened, at last he started to take each thing out and he put it upside down. That way he found his toothbrush inside a boot after searching it for 18 times in the bag to know whether he had packed the toothbrush or not. That's how he found the toothbrush. So at last he got very tired and he had packed the suitcase again after finding his toothbrush in that. So then George asks him whether he had packed the soap. By this time Jerome was already very irritated, so he says that I don't care about that anymore. And then what does he do? After learning about the shoes, George remembers his toothbrush, and that happens. And I'm sorry, the slide has gone forward. This is the slide now. After that, we see that one more query arises for the soap by George, and consequently this irritates Jerome so much that he does not pay any heed. He does not mind at all about the soap because he is already quite irritated because he had searched the suit bag like 20 times already. So he does not care for the damn soap anymore. So however, to his mistake, he has to reopen it again due to his spectacles being locked inside the bag. He does not want to reopen the bag at any cost, but he had to reopen because he forgot his spectacles. Accidentally, he put his spectacles in the bag and he packed it. So he had to open it again and then he had to take his spectacles from the bag. After all this mess, this packing session finally concludes at 10 o'clock. And then let's see what happens. So we see that after taking such a long time to pack, Jerome's other two friends pack the hampers themselves to show him how it's actually done. Because it took a long time for Jerome, now George and Harris wanted to show how to pack by packing the hampers. Now still they have to pack the hampers. Hampers means large baskets for carrying food. He had packed clothes and other accessories till now in the suitcase. Now they have to pack hampers. They have to pack all the food items. So what did they do now? So they wanted to pack. Harris and George wanted to pack, intending that they would show Jerome how to pack, how packing has to be done. So they're also similarly naive and they break many things. How do they start? You guess? They start by breaking a cup. That's the first thing they did in packing the hampers. That's what the first thing they did. And further, they squash tomatoes and they tread on butter while also smashing the pies. In addition, there is a salt flying here and there during this process. Thus, after much chaos, they try to put things back in order. So let me elaborate on this actually. So how did they start? They started by breaking a cup first, and then there were a big pile of plates, cups, kettles, bottles, jars, pies, stoves, cakes and tomatoes. These all things are to be packed. So this is going to be exciting for Jerome. So he saw. They started breaking with a cup And then what did they do? Harris packed strawberry jam on the top of a tomato. So when you put heavy objects on tomatoes, you can guess what would happen. They get smashed. That's what happened. So the tomatoes got smashed. And then what did they do, So as the tomato got smashed, they took a spoon and they took that puree out of that basket. And then what did they do? It's George's turn now. And what did he do? He stepped on the butter. Butter is there to be packed, and George stepped on the butter. Jerome kept quiet and he did not say anything. He was simply watching them doing all the work over there. Let's see what happened next. It made them nervous and excited, and they stepped on the things and they put things behind them, and they could not find them when they wanted to pack them, and they packed the pies at the bottom. Pies. So they packed the pies at the bottom. You guess what will happen when you put heavy things on pies? Just like that, they broke into pieces. They smashed even pies, and they smashed the tomatoes, and they put salt on everything. They upset salt on everything. There was salt on everything that has been kept there. And George had to got off his slipper. They tried to put it in the kettle. They tried to put that butter in the kettle, but it's not going in. And what has gone in the kettle, it's not coming out. So at last they scrape it out and they put it on the chair. They put the butter on the chair. And what did they do, Harris immediately sat on that. And that butter stuck on his bottom. And they went looking for it all over. They were searching for the butter, and it was on the bottom of Harris. They searched all over the room again and again and again. They stared at each other, George and Harris. And George said, I pledged that I had kept it on the chair. And Harris says, yes, I have seen you keeping that on the chair. But how did this happen? Where did it disappear? They thought it was mysterious. But at last, George had seen butter on Harris' bottom, and he took it out. Meanwhile, Montmorency, it's the pet dog's name that has come into the picture. It is their pet dog. And to introduce Montmorency, let me tell something about this Montmorency. His life ambition is to get scolded. This dog is such a dog that it wants to get scolded, and it makes such a nuisance, and it makes people crazy. And if it gets hit by the people, then it thinks that its day is not wasted. It's perfectly a good day for the dog if it destroys the day of the people around it. That is the kind of dog Montmorency. So what did he do? He sits on the things that are to be packed, and he climbs on the jam, and he crushes the lemons as if they were rats. He chases the lemons, and he smashes the lemons as if they were rats. Finally, the packing ends at around 12:50 in the night. After a tiring packing session, after that, they decide the time to get up for the next morning. And before they had decided, they had some difficulty in deciding the time, because Jerome says it is 7 and Harris says it is 6, and they split the difference, and they agreed that they would wake up at 6:30 in the morning. What happened, Harris says it is 7 o'clock, and Jerome says it is 6 o'clock. Jerome wants to get up at 6 o'clock, and Harris wants to get up at 7 o'clock. But they split the difference, and they decided that they would wake up at 6:30 in the morning, and they wanted to tell the same to George. But by the time they had decided the time, George was already sleeping. So what did they do? They put a big bathtub beside George's bed. so that when he wakes up tomorrow morning, he falls into that tub, and obviously he wakes up Jerome and Harris. So, having decided upon the time, they went to bed. All the three friends went to bed. This is an extract from Three Men in a Boat. I hope you had fun listening to this, and you will have more fun if you read the textbook. So, I want you to read the textbook 4 to 5 times and enjoy thoroughly the fun in this story. So, meet you in the next class. Till then, take care, stay home, stay safe. Bye bye.